What happens when you push for manufacturing productivity? Could it be burning out your plant leadership team? Well, right now, operations managers and production managers are driving process optimization harder than ever, especially with labor shortages and this widening skill gap. And when operations management focuses only on production efficiency and ignores burnout prevention, you don't get operational excellence. You get disengaged shift supervisors, frustrated frontline leaders, and talent retention problems that quietly erode performance. And it just happens slowly and you don't even see it happening. Well, after working with manufacturing leaders across North America and being one myself for 25 years, I've seen how easily high performing plants slide into leadership exhaustion without even realizing it. We go through launches and different challenges, and we need some help. And today we have Dr. Marie-Helene Pelletier and I are going to talk about how plant managers, right to frontline leaders, can improve process optimization and manufacturing productivity without sacrificing the people responsible for delivering it. We can actually help them. And she's an expert on bridging technology and psychology, which I find fascinating for a manufacturing industry. And she's the author of The Resilience Plan, a strategic approach to optimizing your work performance and mental health, and was named a top 5 book to read by Inc. and Forbes. She's also got an amazing TED Talk, and she's just a fun person to talk to, and you're really going to enjoy this conversation. Let's jump in. So now we're together, Dr. Marie-Helene Pelletier, and you've given me permission to call you MH.
Of course. Yes. Great to be here, Trevor.
Yeah, it's so cool. We got a lot of connections through Page Two, our publisher, and AJ Harper and different groups, and just just really appreciate you coming on the show here, because now I've watched your TED Talk, I've read your book, and I've really appreciated the connection of your work, as a PhD, and having that background of understanding the psychology and then how that ties to our operations. And we talked in the beginning here about plant managers, like pushing for for more results, but maybe that's hurting the results, right?
It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to seeing your book, Trevor, which also will help all of us. So many pressures that various individuals in various leadership roles, whether you're a plant manager, whether you're the CEO, we are VP operation, the pressures are there and they show up in different ways.
Yeah, like I was just talking to someone that's running a plant and they have an engineering background and very good person and trying to do a good job, but also has daughters and a life. And it's hard. It's hard to just keep going in that. I think he needs a resilience plan.
Yes, he may. He may. Yes, absolutely. But you're right. In this observation, I think many of us can relate. What often happens is, when we talk about resilience, maybe let's step back for a quick moment, right? What we're talking about is the ability to go through adversity, so demands, and come out even stronger. So there's a growth element here. And the demands here can be acute, but it can also be chronic. Sometimes it's a combination. And often, exactly to your example, all the demands will start increasing from all fronts at the same time. Personal life, professional life. And first thing we know, it starts feeling like we've got quite a bit and it's hard to keep our head out of the water.
Yeah. So when you are working with these leaders and they're just like, well, MH, I just got to do it, right? Like there's not a choice. I just got to,
Yeah.
as all these things pile up, we just got to figure it out. That's what we've been told, right?
Yes, yes, that's the pressure. And it is something that sometimes earlier in our careers, we could just go with, put your head down, keep working. And after a while, things stabilize, you have a bit of a break before the next wave, and you go on like this. But there is a point at which you can't keep doing this. And sometimes we say to ourselves, well, but I used to be able to do this. Why not do it again?
Right.
But the context has changed. Our lives as adult changes between early 20s to 30s, 40s, 50s. Other demands are going on at work, and
Hmm.
outside of work. Our body, our brain is not functioning exactly the same way either. So the context is different. So what was possible 10 years ago may not be possible now and may not even be the best way to approach things. So yes, it feels like everything needs to keep going. We need to do all the things. Maybe we need to do them differently. And
Hmm.
it will show up in all kinds of ways. They had started in this particular organization to implement formal performance reviews. It's a
Okay.
smaller shop. They did not have those for a while. They were doing performance conversations, but not specific. And they decided to implement this. And it felt to everyone like it was going to be this useless tick a box
Yeah.
exercise, losing time, like
Yeah.
that serves no purpose. And it's probably true to some degree that the first iteration is often not the best one. The
Hmm.
organization is trying to figure it out, and there's some truth to this. But then, can we make this actually useful? Increase talent retention by bringing a spin to it. And that's what we worked together on this, but that's what he ended up doing. He ended up saying to his team and for his own evaluation,
Hmm.
because he had to do it too, was, you know what? We're going to make this useful for you. So as you think about what you're going to put on that form that we both have to fill together, think about one thing that you want to make sure you learn, or one thing you want to make sure you can put on your resume, or that you'd like to see as part of your role now or next role. And he did the same thing too, because he was looking in his particular situation for his next leadership role.
Hmm.
And that's what he ended up weaving in. Now, at a VP level, what you need to have in your performance evaluation is alignment with organizational strategy. The organization was not even sharing a strategy. But what he
Mm.
did is he created what made sense to him, aligned it with his goals, and it became meaningful. So that's just a small example on the demands we keep facing, that sometimes we can put a different angle to it and make it useful.
Yeah, instead of just saying, well, yeah, we just got to do these performance reviews, it's kind of like, where's the opportunity then to kind of like take it that new look? Like, how are we doing right now? And, what's changed? Because it's like it grows around us. When I was running a plant, and I remember the quality manager walking by me and kind of grabs me and like, you okay? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look good. I'm like, well, there's a lot going on. It's just what I got to do. And he's like, well, I don't know if that's really helping the rest of the plant, because my behavior and I knew it was getting it to me.
Mm.
And then and I was just like, I just gotta wake up earlier, right? I just gotta stay a little bit later. I'll do my laptop at night a little bit. I'll come in on Saturday. Like I'll make this happen. But I didn't really appreciate that not having a resilience plan. I just had like get to the next hour plan was
Yes.
probably hurting the rest of my team.
Yes. And you're right. That's part of what happens too. We tend to think that we can just decide to keep going, decide to sleep less, work more, pile on, put your head down and keep doing things as if we could override in some ways our health and
Mhm.
our brain. And no, there's just a point at which the brain will not operate. It will not, you will sound and be more impatient. Your
Mm.
ability to make good decisions, your judgment will be impacted. Your ability to listen for when, say, a team member is sharing something and respond in a way that your usual self would have responded,
Mhm.
your usual leader self would have done that. Now it's not that at all. But truly, it's as if we're doing a physical activity and we're doing it very intensely for a long time. So let's say we're skiing and now we've been skiing really hard runs and we've been doing this for a full day and you want to keep going. There may be a point at the end of the day where your muscles will just shake and not want to keep
Mhm.
going. When that happens, you cannot say, I don't care, I'm going to keep going down. The leg is doing this, it's shaking, it's not working. You have to
Yeah.
say, well, no, I have to pause, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is a point at which our brain does this. And we tend to think we can override it, but we can't. And it's going to hurt your brand at some point.
Mhm.
It's going to hurt the reputation that you've spent whatever years, decades maybe building, because now it's just been too much. So we need to take action to change how that looks.
Yeah, and we talk about process optimization,
Right?
continuous improvement, 5S and lean, and we just got to have better efficiencies and output. Burnout prevention is something that gets searched by manufacturing leaders, but not talked about. I think the awareness is starting to come around, but this whole burnout prevention, it's like a dirty word. Like, we can't say that, but we need to say that because like Zers for us is, when they look at and they say, oh, look at people like Trevor, like he's working all the time. And it's almost like you were with me in the plant, like the way you described it. It was like, yeah, like I was less patient. And I probably missed some great clues from people where I could have had a better process optimization if my brain was better optimized.
That's a really good way to say it. Earlier in this particular role, that's likely what you were doing. You were optimizing processes, you were listening to team members, you were retaining your talent, engaging them, all these things. And that's what we do. And then as demands pile up, we get so tapped, like the brain, we've got a cognitive overload at some
Yeah.
point, and everything works together. The way we think, so the cognitive overload impacts how we feel, impacts how we respond to the behavior, which then impacts the cognitive overload. Because as you see yourself
Hmm.
responding in not the usual way, you start thinking, well, look at me, I can't even be a good boss anymore. And now it starts spiraling even more. So we want to catch this. And you're right. I think it is shifting. It will shift, with time as we're seeing a bit more, not just looking at safety, physical safety, but
Hmm.
also looking at psychological safety, which then
Mm.
impacts physical safety as well, so that people can feel comfortable bringing up observations that we may not love to hear, but will be better for all of us, which does contribute to ultimately process optimization as well, talent retention,
Hmm.
and burnout prevention. We actually know this from research that when we are paying attention to psychological safety, so creating a context where people on the team feel comfortable bringing up their observations, then they will. And as they do that, they will become more involved, right? They feel like
Yes.
they can have an influence. Well, those concepts of engagement, they actually contribute to reducing burnout. So there are many variables. That's not
Hmm.
the only one, but it is one of them. So even as we are today, in the roles we're in, there's many things also to consider. One of them for our teams is to consider involving them even more, making sure we create
Yes.
conversations when we're asking. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to leverage the resources we already have. That's what we like to say, right? There's people in there, we've hired them for their hands, but they have these brains and hearts. I think about the manufacturing leadership team from the owner to plant manager to supervisor to materials manager to frontline leader. We can kind of see it in each other. But when we talk about safety, safety culture, and when I see plants do well on safety, it's because exactly what you said, right? They've got a leadership team that is able to receive the information when they feel safe enough to bring it up. So you get these moments where, okay, someone's bringing this up. So we can either dismiss it or like, I got a lot going on right now. Or it's like, hey, you know what? No, I'm feeling resilient. I can stop and listen here for a minute. And this is important because we talk about burnout prevention. A good way to do that is to use the people that you have.
Right.
How do we step back? And then that whole, that helps with your retention because now I'm more engaged. Now I feel valued. And it's just this whole cycle. But it seems like to turn this wheel and kind of get it going on its own, we struggle in this industry.
We do. And it's a very good observation. What you're making there is reminding us that this is a system. So, yes,
Mm.
I may be a leader here with my team looking to bring up all these good ingredients in how we work together, creating that community. It's work and it's a team, and we're here to work. It represents still a group of people who can support each other, right?
Mhm.
That being said, this particular team, say you as a leader and your team, you're within an organization. That organization has a culture, which creates what we call a climate. So, how it feels to work here. And so, there is only so much change me here as a leader can bring in this overall system. I
Mhm.
do have some influence. I don't have zero either, obviously. I'm a member of it. I happen to be a leader in it. I have some influence. None of us does. We don't have 100% influence.
Yeah.
And that too is important to keep in mind so that we do what we can. And of course, also invest in our own strategic resilience. And keep in mind that some of it belongs to the system, which sometimes we can also influence, like going to your HR person and saying, hey, anything we have right now that can help prevent burnout in the teams? Anything you already have on your list? If they say no, not right now, you can say, well, could you put it on for next year maybe, or whenever you review your planning? And if there is, then you want to learn about it. See, now you've contributed to influencing the system. But then you want to
Mhm.
also then take a bit of a distance. Because if you try to wear on your shoulders the weight of creating these wonderful changes, right?
I
It
feel it.
hurts. It's too much, right? And it's not realistic. It just is not realistic to think
Yeah.
that you would have it all on your shoulder and could carry it on. So so it's a dance in some ways. Mostly it is a system, so we can influence it. The system influences us as well. And so at times keeping a distance and recharging batteries outside is
Mhm.
very important.
We just had a survey on some subtitles for my book. We got lots of engagement from the community, and it's going to help with your continuous improvement. This is what it's all about. And I'm just excited for you to sign up. It's a way that we can get connected more and be part of this community and grow this and be this together. It's completely free. You just click the link at the top of the show notes. If you're not driving, just pause right now and sign up, or it's manufacturinggreatness.com//subscribe. Let's get back to the show.
You were talking earlier about the example of just using less sleep or going in on the weekend, that kind of thing. Maybe an exception, but not making it a rule, because as you start doing this, you start depleting your own resources, your own
Mhm.
sleep, obviously, but also your own time, either with family or friends, or having a walk outside, or going to the gym, or whatever you like to do outside, which are all things that would contribute to keeping your resilience. And so having that realistic perspective and continuing to protect boundaries to some degree is also very important.
It's addictive, right? We just kind of like want to do well. And I even found it this week. Like this week, I was just like, okay, after dinner, I'm just going to do this. If I could just get this done tonight, then I'll be a little bit better off tomorrow. But all of a sudden, like today's Friday. And I like what you said. It's almost seasonal, right? There's going to be a breakdown. We got to go in the middle of the night. That is part of our role. But then we also have a responsibility to know when to step back as well, because
We do.
you're singing our language when you say systems, processes, right? Like we like that repeatable standards,
Yeah.
and we can influence some of those, right? And especially
Yes.
where you are in the organization, plant manager, factory manager, corporate has a lot of play. I've seen that. We're great plant managers of big plants, but the corporate group is influencing them in the wrong way. They're not saying, "Hey, MH, are you okay? Like, how you
Mhm.
doing? I know it's been a rough week." Like, those are the questions they need to ask.
And
And
that's
that's,
easy, right?
yeah. And I think if we can start doing that, we can start to tap in and we say, huh, there's been a safety incident this week and now there's a quality incident. Maybe we should check in and see, like, how's the leadership team doing? Because, that's going to impact the rest of the organization. How's everybody functioning? And just kind of doing that check in, because here's the thing, and I don't want to give away your TED talk and your book. And there's that one story and maybe about you, a personal story. And I want you to tell it because when I work with leaders and I'll say, walk into a plant, I'll say, how's it going? He says, well, same old, living the dream. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. Like every day is a different day. And sometimes things are changing around you and sometimes things are changing within you. But I got a hard time explaining that sometimes, but I understood it better listening to your story.
Ah, well, I'm glad it resonated. I sure learned a lot myself in that actual situation. And then after, I go in more details in both on the TED Talk and in the book. But in a nutshell, what had happened is so I do a fair bit of mountaineering, going for longer, multi-day type things in the mountain. A lot of it with Nick, my husband. And we had gone for an 8-day trek in the Canadian Rockies. So you get somewhere and 8 days later come out. So it was a traverse like that. And it was late June of a year that had received a lot of snow. So we were going to be on packed snow for most of this, even though it was
Wow.
June. So we started. And at the end of day one, we crossed this river that, you have to go in to cross. It's not a small thing. It was maybe 12 steps. And, but we stopped before the river, made our plans. And then Nick goes first, succeeds. Then it looks at me and it's my turn. And we go and we got the ski poles and everything, the whole thing. And it worked out. Great, beautiful day. Keep going. So day 2, day 3, day 4. By day 4, we were fairly high up in the mountains. And for all kinds of reasons, we actually could not keep going. We had to make the decision to not proceed with the traverse as planned, but turn around.
Mhm.
So we turned around, and by day 8, we got back to that same river. And so Nick crossed the river, and then we looked at each other to talk. Trevor, we could not even hear each other. And it was the same river, but what had happened is that it had been 8 more days of snow melting. So the river was way busier. It was, noisy and more movement in it, powerful, the whole thing. And so Nick gestured that he would come and get me. And I sort of gestured back, stay there. And, I will come to you because I figured he's crossed it. Let's not
Yeah.
get the guy to do the same thing twice, whatever lack of logic. But, that was the thinking. So, and then I looked at how I was going to do this and I went in the river, which, yeah, I know. You see where this is going. And
Yeah.
so immediately the river grabbed me, threw me head down in the river. Now the water is coming, I'm like, oh my God. And I had like zero control. And the next thing I felt was that force grabbing me by the backpack and throwing me on the second side of the river. And thank God that was Nick that was able to get me out of there. Life situations that you remember and you learn from and that. But for me, that learning, not right after, because it was still like, oh my God. But, a while after, I was like, oh my God, this is the same thing that happens to us in the work situation. And here's my thinking. I was thinking, okay, in general, when things are fine, we as leaders and team members, we're all like at day 1. We're good, we're making good plans, we're safe, it works, it's great. But where we get at risk, when we become at risk, is the equivalent of day 8, where we're already depleted because we were tired by then, obviously. We stop talking to each other. We stop working together. We stop being careful with the plans and we just carry on. And then that's when physical risk happens, but also psychological risk. Same thing. That's where we're more at risk for burnout. Same thing. So, and that's where I was thinking, okay, if ahead of time, before all this, we build a plan, a strategic resilience plan in this case, if we think in advance of the various changes in the context that could happen and prepare for those better, then we will likely be safer. And that, yeah, that was the idea of the connection with that story.
Well, here's what really, one, glad you're here and you got a good
Thank you.
husband
And the husband is
was
still
with
here
you.
too.
So everybody's surviving,
We're
which is
good.
fantastic. But what really hit my heart, listening to that and it's when you talked about like, yes, the river changed, like, yes, there was more water and we feel that in the plants, right? Because some days we hit our numbers, some days we don't, some days we have a quality spill, the customer calls with something and it's sometimes it gets more hectic and the environment changes around us. But what really sunk with me, MH, what was so powerful is that you talked about just that vulnerability of like, you didn't recognize how much you had changed. You were not the same woman that entered the river the first time where you had built up resilience. And I think it's the same thing in the plants, right? Where it's kind of like, okay, we just think it's stressful because all these actions are going around us. The water's higher. But yeah, but I'm not at my optimal level right now. So now I'm in deeper water and I'm not as strong as I normally am.
That's right. Yes, exactly. And that I think is the shift. Earlier when you were talking about, we don't talk about burnout right now. That's a bit of the shift that I think we will see happen. And I'm starting to see it as well in my work and in some organizations for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes key people have experienced it, so they'll talk about it more openly. And so it starts changing the culture around it. But where it's going, however we get there, back to your question, how are you doing? Which
Yeah.
means in this culture, we ask ourselves and ask each other how we're doing. because the way we're doing has an impact on how well we'll do the work, how safe we're going to be for
Mhm.
ourselves, for our other people around us, team members, colleagues. So, and that's a culture shift in itself. And that's something we can all do. Everyone
Yeah.
tomorrow, later today, can go to work and make a point of asking at least one person, how are you doing?
Huh.
You can do that.
And Mitch, what do you want to leave the listeners with today as they go into the plants? What's a message you want them to be remembering?
So many, I would say, stay curious about the ways in which you can increase your resilience. Even if we're in a system and there are people around you, and sometimes we want to help others increase theirs, it's just like in so many other areas of life, the way we're going to help others better is if we first do it for ourselves. That's the strongest message. So if they see
Mhm.
you, Trevor, the leader, do it, if they hear you saying, you know what, my brain's just shutting down right now, I need a pause for 2 minutes before I can focus on this. So it's being
Mhm.
curious about what else you could do. Can you have a better boundary to make sure you look after your family, yourself, your friends? Keep that, coffee with a friend, not cancel, so that you have that replenishing of resilience, in this case through community. Stay curious and then do something.
I think that's going to be my t-shirt is stay curious.
Hmm.
Or be
Yes.
curious. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I think you and I connect a lot on that. But yeah, you got great tools in there on the resilience plan. I've got the audiobook and I've got the hardcover. So I got kind of both versions and it's so helpful. And the TED Talk is just a very, very tight, great, take 15 minutes and watch that. We're going to put the link in the show notes and for your book as well. How else do the listeners follow you?
Oh, they can go, thank you for asking. They can go to theresilienceplan.com. You'll find everything there, book, what I do, and all this. And of course, LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, that's a great place to see messages, each other's messages, and share them with others as well. So you can add your voice to that conversation, add your leadership there as well.
Well, we need you. We're in this together. And thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Trevor. Thank you.
Just a reminder, we got that free newsletter. Again, it's a way for us to connect. And what you heard from MH today, we're going to give other tips from her, some other links and resources, and it's weekly, doesn't cost anything, keeps us in the community. Manufacturinggreatness.com/subscribe. That's it. Or just click that link. And I will get back to you. If you got questions, maybe you have a topic that you want covered here. The podcast is going weekly. The newsletter is getting tighter and going weekly because we know that you have a lot going on. And it's our job to provide you with those resources so you can have more time, be more resilient, have that continuous improvement, and have a better day. So we look forward to hearing from you. A quick little break here. If you're a plant manager, supervisor, and leadership, if you're working in manufacturing, or maybe you're in some fields like construction or logistics, we have a newsletter that's gone weekly now, and we give different tips from what you're hearing from MH and us today in this conversation. And we give some tactical resources. We just had a survey on some subtitles for my book. We got lots of engagement from the community and it's going to help with your continuous improvement. This is what it's all about. And I'm just excited for you to sign up. It's a way that we can get connected more and be part of this community and grow this and be this together. It's completely free. You just click the link at the top of the show notes. If you're not driving, just pause right now and sign up, or it's just manufacturinggreatness.com // subscribe. Let's get back to the show.